All right, let me start the live.
How do I turn off the video? No, just kidding.
You can't turn off your video, man. You're a star.
There's an animal. I'd like to see what he looks like in real life here.
Oh, you mean the porcupine?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Good day to everyone. My name is Angela Fobbs. I'm a member of the Florida State team and a Florida voter. We're going to begin the event soon with a welcome from our Vice Chair, Art Schenkler, and then we'll have the two candidates. Val Demmings will be first. She has a limited amount of time to speak with us, so we're not going to be able to take any questions from the audience from her. And then after that, we'll speak with Charlie Crist, and we can probably take a few questions from the audience. So before we begin, also, I would like to thank Carol Moore, who is a Florida voter and also our candidate event coordinator. She's coordinated over 100 events this election season, and we're just so proud to have her with us. Oh, she's not with us at the moment, but I think she will join us shortly. So thanks a lot, Carol. Great job. Hopefully this will all pay off. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Art Schenkler. Are you ready, Art?
I am, although my screen seems frozen because I'm not looking down anymore.
Yeah, okay, then that is turn it off and turn it back on.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's not going back on. I don't know why that is. Anyway, I'll keep trying, but I'll start talking. Okay, you can. It's no great thrill to see me, as you know, Angela. But thank you, Angela. Yeah, I want to thank you, and I'll second your shout out to Carol Moore. Done a great job of organizing this candidate webinars. Thank you to the state team of Florida. Thank you to all the caucuses who are involved tonight, the Women's Caucus, the Seniors Caucus, Disability Caucus, and the Environmental and Climate Crisis Council. I think have been all involved in organizing this event. And, you know, this is another in our outreach to candidates and hearing from candidates, letting their constituents, their voters, hear from them from overseas, which I think is an incredible, development in the political process. These person-to-person connections between voters and candidates. And in this case, you know, we have two candidates speaking today who are both members of Congress, Congresswoman Val Demmings and Congressman Charlie Crist. And I should say our future Senator Val Demmings and a future Governor Charlie Crist will be with us today, which is an incredible opportunity. 2022 is yeah, I know, I'm trying. Somebody's telling me to turn on my video. I'm trying. 2022 is yet another existential election. This is one that we have to win from top to bottom. If we don't retain control of the Senate, and I think Val Demmings is going to be an important part of helping us keep control of the Senate. We're looking at another Mitch McConnell term as Senate Majority Leader. And you know what he will do or what he will not do. He won't, get justices, judges approved. He won't approve of anything because he doesn't want to see any success for Democrats. He's come out and said that their whole strategy politically is to make sure that the Democrats don't have any accomplishments for the American people. And, control of the State House is crucial, not only for the people, for the people of Florida and implementing good policies that make sense, but also as we look ahead to the 2024 election, control of the governors, control of Secretary of State positions, are going to be crucial in ensuring that we have a fair and honest election in 2024. So this election is crucial, and we really need to get out every vote. And what I keep reminding people of is that we are the majority. We are in the majority on issues that matter to American people, to the American people, whether it's a woman's right to choose, whether it's dealing with the climate crisis, whether it's preserving voting rights for every American. Democrats are on the side of the majority of the American population, and we just need to get people out to vote. We just need to get that majority out to vote in this incredibly important midterm election. So the other thing I usually say, you know, the Republicans, they're always accusing us. Hi, could you go on mute, please, Luke? There you are. Okay. The Republicans are always accusing us of, you know, voter fraud and voting more than once. Well, we don't. We only vote once, but we do have ways that we can effectively multiply our vote. One, I hope all of you have voted, have gotten your ballots and sent them in. The next thing you can do is contact your friends and family and make sure that they're voting. That's another way of multiplying your vote. And if you really want to multiply your vote, join our Democrats Abroad phone banking campaign, where we are reaching out to voters in crucial elections around the world and around the country. So can somebody put the, great, somebody's putting phone banking training, or just link to phone banking /phone banking and sign up now. It's not too late. Over 30 states allow electronic return of their ballots. So people still have time to request their ballots and vote. And phone banking, our members are our lowest hanging fruit. And by calling our members and people who voted in 2020, we are getting the lowest hanging fruit, and it's crucial that they get out and vote in this election. And finally, I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't say another way to multiply your vote is to donate to Democrats Abroad. Somebody's going to put that link, I know, in the change. You know, donating helps us make all those phone calls. You know, in 2020, we made 600,000 phone calls to our members and paid, I think, over $150,000. So it all costs money in terms of getting out the vote. And if you want to, another way to multiply your vote is to make a donation to Democrats Abroad. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Congresswoman Demmings and Congressman Crist tonight. I think their elections are so crucial for all of us, whether we live in Florida or whether we're from Florida, or whether we know people in Florida. They are crucial to all of us around the world. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Angela. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Art. We're still have a few moments left before the Congresswoman arrives. But so I'll keep a lookout, an eye out for her. But I just want to reiterate what Art said about voting, that there is still time to request an absentee ballot for almost every state. So please go to votefromabroad.org and do it. If you're a Florida voter, we have until, I want to say it's the 1st of November to request an absentee ballot. It might be a bit longer, but we have 2 weeks or more to still get a ballot, and you can fax your ballot back. It's super easy. There's services you can use. The DoD has a service that you can find on fvap.gov. And there are some other ones that you have. If you're a person like me, whose printer actually has a fax machine in it for some reason in 2022, but it does, you can go to a print shop and get it returned. But so you don't have to worry about the mail for Florida. You can actually use the fax. No, that is not the last day to request a ballot. It's not. It's in November. So I just also want to say that there's so many issues on the table this year. We have women's rights, we have we have interracial marriage, we have LGBTQ marriage, we have the war in Ukraine, we have Social Security and Medicaid. They're coming for that. They are coming for it. And I mean, they keep saying it. They want to make a national abortion ban. There's any number of things that they're actually saying. And as the saying goes, when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. This is not a test. This is not a joke. Everyone needs to vote and have your say in this election. So you can go, if you're in the United States and you happen to see our video, you can go to iwillvote.com and select the state that you vote in, and you can, in some places you can still register. Or also, if you're in the United States and you're planning to vote, you should verify that you are still registered. Voter suppression and kicking people off the rolls is a very popular thing for Republicans to do. They love to get people off the rolls. So you go to the voting station, and then you're surprised because your name is no longer on the list. And then they'll give you a provisional ballot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your vote will actually be counted. So check your registrations right now to make sure that you are actually still registered. If you're overseas, go to votefromabroad.org. It's super easy, super fast. And ask for your ballot to be delivered by email to you, so it gets there to you on time. And as I said before, in Florida, you can fax it back. So no worries about no money for stamp, no trying to get postage together if you live in a country that doesn't allow you to have, that doesn't have great mail service. Just use the fax and you'll be much better for it.
Excuse me, can I just add that I was able to send a fax of my ballots using an email address, fax@fvap.gov, and they responded that they had received my ballot and would send it to the Broward office.
Right.
So that was way easier than looking for a fax machine somewhere in the ether.
Right. That's true. Not everybody has access to a fax. You can use your phone as a scanner and scan in your ballot as a PDF and then attach it to an email to the FVAP fax thing. If you look, we have that information on votefromabroad.org also.
But verification means that whenever they send you the ballot, it's verified. I don't have to do it now afterwards.
Yes, that's right. And something interesting that happened, I have a stateside cell phone number, and I put it down as my contact and they sent me a text to say they got my ballot, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know if they would do that to an outside number. The Congresswoman, I just got a message from one of her staff. She will be joining shortly. So maybe it might be good. I don't know. Ann Hesse is our Women's Caucus chair, and she's in the States right now. What is the feeling in the States?
I happen to be in California, but the feeling is the same everywhere. It's all about turnout, I think. I've been talking to young people, young professionals in Silicon Valley and so forth. And of course, they're liberal-minded. They would vote Democrat if they got themselves there, but they're busy. They're tired, they're busy, and they're not really plugged into the way we are about the necessity to vote. They sometimes feel like they're in this bubble. They have their money, they have jobs, they have money. I worry that the young professionals are not taking this as seriously as we do. That's my take on it from many conversations that I've had with young people.
Wow, that is,
I know, it's
terrible.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, but I'm doing my best. I wonder how other people feel about that. These young professionals are maybe not as engaged as they could be.
Well, that is good good to know, Anne, because then that gives us an opportunity that if you have family that is living in Florida or in any state, please remind them to vote, to take action. You know, I don't want to be a doomsayer, but we might not ever get another chance to do this.
Angela, I saw a poll that actually gave me some, it stopped me in my tracks, but because it was the people that were most motivated and most supportive of the Democratic Party were people who are young and people who are older. And that the issue was, I want to say 18 to, you know, that core 18 to 49 group. So I would say, I mean, you know, everybody, we need to get everybody.
Is sharing something and why? Stop that. Okay, please do not share the screen if you are not authorized. Thank you. Well, I hope the polls are correct. The representative will be here any moment now. Our staff member is on here. You know what? I've been asked to let everybody know that there are also judges and on the Florida ballot and some constitutional amendments, and that we have information. Okay, awesome. The Congresswoman is here. So let me, without further ado, Val Demmings is awesome, and we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and let her speak. If you want to turn on your video, that would be great. Caitlin? Ah, there you are, Congresswoman Demmings. Woohoo. 1 second, let me make you. Hi,
Hello,
Congressman Demmings.
everybody. How
Here we go.
are you?
I'm awesome. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you so much for joining us today. We forego a big introduction because we don't have a lot of time with you, and we just want to hear you speak. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Angela, and thank you to everyone who was on the Zoom call today. I apologize for not having the clearest screens, but you all know that I am on the road, spreading our message throughout Florida about my race for the United States Senate. I am so excited about this race, and there are a few reasons I'm excited, but let me just very quickly just kind of set up our theme for this call today. I am the daughter of a maid and a janitor. And, you know, people will say, well, why does this race matter so much to you? It's hard, it's tough, it's a lot. Why do you want to do it? Well, I'm the daughter of a maid and a janitor who is the youngest of 7, but the first in my family to go to college. After college, I worked as a social worker, working with abused, abandoned, and neglected children. From there, I joined the Orlando Police Department, worked my way up through the ranks to become the police chief, the first woman to hold that position, serving in the House of Representatives. You all know I serve on Judiciary, Homeland Security, and Intelligence, and now running for the United States Senate. Only in America is that story possible. America, this country that we love, this country that we all believe is the greatest country in the world, with all of our challenges that we face and sometimes the complicated histories that we talk about. Only in America is my story possible. And I just happen to be on a mission now to make sure that every man, every woman, every boy, and every girl, regardless of who they are, the color of their skin, their ethnic background, how much money they may have, their sexual orientation, sexual identity, or religion, will have an opportunity to succeed, an opportunity to make it. That is my why. When I think about my own life and those who invested and believed in me to make my dreams come true, I'm just trying to make the American dream come true for others as well. And I'm just so honored and happy to be on this call with Democrats abroad. And I thank you for taking the time today to be with us. You know, the priorities. We can talk about healthcare, Every person in the greatest country in the world should have it. We can talk about protecting Social Security and Medicare. Lord knows when I'm ready to retire, I want to be able to retire with dignity and respect. And we have to protect those programs. We can talk about a woman's right to choose. Are we really having this conversation today in 2022? Well, we've been forced to have it. So let me be clear. We're not going back to a time where women were treated as second-class citizens. As someone who spent 27 years in the police department and investigated crimes against children, no, I don't think it's okay for a 10-year-old girl to be raped and have to carry the seed of her rapist. And so if we're being forced to fight this battle again and have this conversation, the message is clear. We're not going back. We're not sitting down. We're not shutting up. We're going to continue to fight for a woman to be able to make her own decisions, a woman's right to privacy, and a woman's right to choose. We can talk about education. You know, for me, I remember my mother pushed and pushed and pushed me, a woman who did not finish high school herself, but she clearly understood that education was the key to opportunity, the key to success. And we have to make sure that our children, we know the majority of our children in Florida and around the nation will go through the public education school system. If we know that every 26 seconds, roughly, a child drops out of school, and if we look at prisons around the United States, the majority are Black and brown, but guess what else? The majority dropped out of school. Could that be a clue that if we just invested more in education on the front end, we could invest less in our prisons on the back end? We can talk about gun violence. Certainly as a police chief, the reduction of gun violence was a priority. Nothing's changed. It's still a priority. And I ask you today, how long will we sit back and watch our children in first grade, fourth grade, high school, college, or people at a grocery store, a church, or a synagogue be gunned down and not do anything about that? If we live in the greatest country in the world, and I really do believe that to be true, then surely we can keep dangerous guns out of the hands of dangerous people. As we think about all of our priorities, lowering costs, making more affordable housing available, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, lowering the cost of insulin, for example, getting serious about mental health services in our country, being able to adequately respond to a natural disaster. As we think about all of our priorities, we have to protect the right to vote. John Lewis said, the right to vote is precious, that is almost sacred. And we must do everything within our power to protect that right to vote. Because if we think about it, if we lose our democracy, we lose the ability to cast our vote for the representative of our choice, then all of the things that are on your agenda and all of the things that are on my agenda become at risk. So I want to thank you all for taking time to be with us today. Thank you for taking time to make sure, even where you are, that you are able to cast your vote. Our vote matters. Our vote is precious. It is the greatest tool that we have to make sure that our nation continues to move in the right direction, to make sure that we continue to form, that more perfect union. So I want to thank you all. And Angela, I'm going to yield back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Congresswoman Demmings. Okay, what just happened? Oh my God, why? All right, so do you have time for one question, Congresswoman, really quickly?
Yes, I do.
All right, our first and only question is from Ann Hesse. She's the chair of our Global Women's Caucus. Ann?
Thank you so much for taking my question. We're so thrilled to have you here. Well, okay, we know that Democrats can fight for abortion rights and win even among those independents and Republicans. And as an original co-sponsor of both the Ensuring Access to Abortion Act and the Women's Health Protection Act, we know that you will do everything you can to protect abortion access in the Senate. But for today, can you tell us a bit about how you're reaching out specifically to those crucial swing voters? And what's the message that all of us could use to encourage traditionally right-leaning friends and family in Florida to go ahead and cross that red to blue line this time?
And thank you so much for that question. And I have been in this race now for 16 months. And as I've traveled the state from the Panhandle down to the Keys, I'm doing what I did as a police chief. I didn't just talk to people who were in my party or people who looked like me or people who that I was comfortable with. That's what my opponent does. I talk to people about things that matter to them. And as I've talked to Republican voters, I've talked to independents, and of course, I've talked to Democratic voters. But what I try to remind them of is this is about protecting constitutional rights. And your issue may not be abortion. But if we send a message that it's okay to chip away, to erode, to take away a constitutional right, and remember, Roe is the first time that a constitutional right has been taken away in the history of our nation. I ask the independents, especially our swing voters, to just think about what's next. No, abortion may not be your issue, but will it be marriage equality? Because I think Justice Thomas clearly communicated, let's take a look at marriage equality. Will it be where you're able to go to school or where your children are able to go to school? Access to contraceptives, again, the justice said, why don't we take a look at that? So we make it more about constitutional rights. In the greatest country in the world, we have to do everything that we can to protect constitutional rights for those that we agree with and for those who we may not necessarily agree with. And our message has been resonating throughout the state. Because I am a former police chief, that message of public safety and protecting and serving really resonates, whether I'm in North Florida, in the Panhandle, or in South Florida, in Miami-Dade. And so we're just talking to people about things that matter to them, not necessarily leading with political party, because the issues that we're facing right now are bigger than any political party. We've got to make sure that we recognize this country that we love. Therefore, we've got to protect and defend the Constitution, uphold the rule of law, because we are a nation of laws, and defend our precious system of government, our democracy. That's what truly matters.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you so much. Thank you for that. So inspiring.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Demmings. Let me just also say really quickly that today, as your email reminded me, is the last day of the FEC reporting period. So
That's
if you
right.
want to go to her website and make a donation, I'm sure that would be 1,000% appreciated at valdemmings.com.
Angela, thank you so much for that. Again, everybody, it's my honor to be with you. Thank you for investing in me, investing in this race, but also investing in Florida's future and America's future. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Val.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Val.
We're going to do
We
more
love
than
you,
wish
Val.
you luck. We're going to vote for you. Okay. All right. So next up, we'll be hearing from, there he is, Charlie Crist. But first, for a nice, our future governor, Charlie Crist, is here. We will have an introduction from him. Jim Mercero, if you want to please turn on your camera and please go ahead and introduce Charlie Crist. Wait.
Yeah, Charlie grew up in St. Petersburg and was a graduate of the Florida State University and the Cumberland School of Law. He has dedicated his life to fighting for opportunity and fairness for every Floridian. Over his career in public service, he has served as state senator, commissioner of education, attorney general, governor, and most recently as the U.S. representative for Florida's 13th congressional district. As Florida's next governor, Charlie will stand up when freedoms are under attack by partisan politicians, protect the freedom of businesses, families, and communities to speak without fear political retribution, to defend the LGBTQ plus community's freedom to be themselves. He will reverse the DeSantis limits on mail ballots and make Election Day a state holiday. He will also make it easier for the governor and cabinet to restore felon voting rights. He will strengthen regulations regarding runoff from agricultural land, support wetland restoration, and support solar incentives in the Sunshine State. For seniors, he will support safe and affordable living and support care workers while working to expand Medicaid in a state that has yet to do so. He will work to ban the sale of assault weapons and enforce laws requiring background checks. It is a pleasure to hand the floor over to Representative Crist to tell us more about his campaign to be elected Florida's next governor. Charlie?
Jim, thank you so much. And my thanks to all of you overseas. God bless you for joining me. And I hope it's not too late or too early, wherever you happen to be. I'm incredibly grateful for the folks and incredible local leaders and activists that are here with us, working hard day in and day out to help our state make history as we near the most consequential election in our history, defeating Ron DeSantis, defeating his presidential ambitions, and bringing decency, respect, and true freedom back to the Sunshine State. You know, with only 21 days left before the election, we must continue to work hard to bring an end to the heartless and cruel leadership at the helm of Florida now. Right now, our state's in danger. For the past 4 years under Ron DeSantis, our freedoms and our rights have been under attack. Now more than ever, we need to work together and work hard. We must show DeSantis that we're tired of his attacks on the freedoms of women and your right to choose, the freedoms of Florida schools and educators, on the freedoms of local governments and duly elected officials, and on your freedom to make your voice heard. DeSantis is running for president, and he hasn't forgotten that he was elected. He has forgotten that he's elected to serve us. He's forgotten our children. He's forgotten our Black and brown and Hispanic neighbors. He's forgotten our women. He's forgotten our LGBTQ community. He has forgotten everyone that does not look or think like him. Under this governor, we have a shortage of over 9,000 school personnel right now. We have skyrocketing utility bills and property insurance, and soaring rent and housing costs that has made us the least affordable state in the country. He is really out there patting himself on the back for having the most expensive insurance market in America. My friends, Ron DeSantis has made Florida the least affordable and least free state in our nation. But together, we can and will bring back decency, kindness, respect, and as I say, actual freedom back to our Sunshine State. It's time to work together now, so DeSantis in 2024 is never even an option. It's time to work together now so that we get leaders who actually give a darn about Floridians back to Tallahassee. Florida, this is the time. This is our moment. And the election is almost upon us. We have a long, hard fight ahead. We must work to spread our message to all Florida and all of you and mobilize voters to ensure a blue wave in November. I cannot afford another 4 years, and neither can you, of Ron DeSantis in the governor's mansion. And together, we can fight for our communities, for our Floridians, and for our Sunshine State. You know what the issues are. A woman's right to choose is on the ballot. And I'm so proud of President Biden making that abundantly clear in his incredible message yesterday, that when we return a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate to Washington, the very first piece of legislation that he will push on the Congress is to make sure we codify Roe versus Wade. I have stated similarly that when we have the first day of the second Crist administration, I will sign an executive order making sure that we protect a woman's right to choose in all 67 counties of Florida. This has been an existential threat on women and fair-minded men, frankly, ever since the Supreme Court made their horrible decision in the Dobbs case overturning Roe versus Wade. You know, we have so many other things to talk about. Education, critically important in Florida. I'm so proud to have as a running mate an educator, a teacher, a special ed teacher, as a matter of fact. Carla Hernandez. She's doing a great job on the campaign trail, fighting for pupils, fighting for teachers, fighting for parents. We have an environmental issue on this campaign. We always do as Floridians. You know that as well as I do. We're the most beautiful state in America, and we have so much to celebrate. We also have so much to protect. I know how important it is. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida today. Yesterday, I was in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to be in Tallahassee later this week and then Pensacola. It truly is a special place to live. It truly is a special place for me to have grown up in St. Petersburg. And I want to protect our Florida. I want to make sure that we have the Caloosahatchee River on the West Coast and the St. Lucie River on the East Coast, rid of those algae blooms that we have suffered from lately because Governor DeSantis has allowed so much fertilizer and runoff and septic tanks. We have to stop that to protect the Sunshine State. So many of these things you all know, I understand, and we all get it. And I know that our fellow Floridians get it too. A poll just came out this morning with us ahead of DeSantis in this governor's race, and Val Demmings, who you just heard from right before me. And I was so proud of her performance last night in her debate. And I will be debating Ron DeSantis next Monday night. It'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern time. I hope you can tune in wherever you might be. But thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege always to be with you. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support, for your prayers, and our hope for a better Florida in our very near future. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I want to call you Governor Crist. It might be premature. We have a few questions from our caucuses. Our first question is from Ann Hesse. She's the chair of the Women's Caucus.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for taking my question. It's so exciting to be with you today. Well, with your long and really, with your impressive record as a pro-choice champion for Florida's women, we know that you'll continue to defend reproductive freedom as governor. But my question for you today is about mobilizing voters around this issue. In these last crucial weeks before the election, what's your strategy for reaching out to young people who at this point may not be voting so motivated? And could you paint a picture for us of what a Crist win would look like for women of Florida as opposed to the alternative? And how are you encouraging those crucial Florida independents and traditionally right-leaning voters to cross that red to blue line this time?
Well, that's a great question, Ann. And I will tell you, I've visited more than 12 of our universities and colleges throughout the state of Florida, our HBCUs as well. It's incredibly important, as you say, to get the young voters out. But I will tell you, they are energized. They know what this election is about. They care deeply about it, and they understand what this governor has done to education in particular, which obviously affects their future directly. So we've checked that box, and we're going to keep doing it as we move around the state in the next 3 weeks. In addition, as it relates to women, the right to choose, and the difference between DeSantis and us, it's night and day. And how do you mobilize people to be concerned enough to vote on this issue? All you have to do is point to the bill that DeSantis already signed. As you probably are aware, it's a 15-week bill banning abortions thereafter. But the really sledgehammer of that law that he signed has no exceptions for rape or incest. And we just learned this past week from Planned Parenthood that a middle school aged young girl was a victim of incest, became impregnated, and was all but about to have the child when she finally was able to get out of Florida, because the procedure could not occur here because of the law DeSantis had signed. But for that, she would have had to bear the child. Or if she had been raped, she would have had to bear that child in Florida. So you talk about an energized group of voters now more than ever. And I think added to with what I mentioned in my opening comments about President Biden and his incredible statement about having the first piece of legislation in the new Congress, so long as we hold the House and the Senate, be to restore Roe and codify Roe versus Wade into law. So it's all hands on deck. It's 21 days to go. I don't know if you all have received your mail-in ballots. You probably have. I hope that you have. I just want to encourage you to make sure you get them in if you haven't done so already. And thanks again for the question, Ann.
Thank you so much. It's really inspiring. I feel better now. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, our next question is from Marnie Delaney. She is the chair of our Global Disabilities Caucus. Marnie?
Great.
Yes,
Marnie.
thank you. Hi, thanks, Angela, and thank you, sir, for being here.
Mhm.
On another subject entirely, 1 in 4 Florida residents lives with a disability. Yet the state ranks near last on many issues of critical importance to people with disabilities. Tens of thousands of people with developmental disabilities are on waiting lists, sometimes up to 10 years on a waiting list, or even more. And the state treasurer has criticized the state's nonprofit hospitals for putting profits before charitable services that they had committed to as they got all the lovely tax exemptions. So it's all a bit shocking for the state that we think of as having the Golden Girls and the accessibility of Disney World. So Representative Crist, what would you plan to do to ensure Florida becomes a leader, not a follower on behalf of people with disabilities?
Well, simply put, we need to increase our funding. You know, I've been endorsed by the Disability Caucus, and I'm very proud of that. And the issue is rather personal to me. My mother is 88 years old. She's had 2 strokes. She herself is disabled. She is wheelchair bound as a result of that. And so it's something that I see and witness each and every day and feel. And so it's an issue that is front and center for me and for many of our fellow Floridians, of course. And you're right about the funding right now. We're 49th out of 50 states. We're almost dead last. And that's pretty embarrassing. And it almost mirrors a number as it relates to education as well. In education funding, we're 48th out of 50 states.
Right.
So on these 2 very important, crucial fronts, helping the disabled and helping our children in education, Florida's almost dead last. And we're the 3rd largest state in the country. And we had the largest budget in the history of our state this past year, $110 billion. And what did the governor do with the excess? He gave $600 million back to corporations across the state who then contributed to his campaign. I mean, it's a mess, but we can fix it in 21 days. And that's why I'm so honored to be on the call with you all, having done so before the primary. Thank you for your support back then. And I look forward to the next 21 days and a much brighter future for Florida, whether it's in education or for the disabled or for women or for minorities, all the people who have been forgotten under the DeSantis administration.
Well, thank you. We look forward to those days.
Thank you.
All right, our next question comes from Betsy Eltor. She's the chair of our Seniors Caucus.
Thanks,
Betsy?
Angela. Thanks very much. Well, this is a 2-part question, Representative Crist. With seniors over 65 making up about 20% of Florida's population, there is a great interest in a senior Bill of Rights. Can you tell us your vision of a senior Bill of Rights and how you would work to get it implemented? And the related question is, how do you intend to expand Medicaid and lower prescription drug costs, which would greatly benefit many impoverished seniors?
Well, you
Thanks.
just combined 2 issues into one for me, because I was thinking, well, I want to expand Medicaid and lower the cost of prescription drugs. And seriously, that's where I think that a better future for seniors across Florida begins with both of these issues. I mean, we have the highest prices for prescription drugs in the world. And insulin was one of the worst examples of that. Now, because of President Biden, we've lowered the cost for insulin for our seniors, 65 and older that are on Medicare. And thank God for President Biden for having done that. But we've still got a long way to go. And to me, it really comes down to one word. It's called respect. Our seniors are some of our most valuable resources, the wisest people we have in the state of Florida, a lifetime of education, including their formal education, and can contribute so much more if simply given the opportunity. And that will be part and parcel of what the next Crist administration will be about, including all people, particularly our seniors, and deriving the value of their wisdom and their lifelong lessons to our new administration and to the future of our state.
Thank you so much.
All right, our next question is from Dana Freeling. She's the chair of our Environment and Climate Crisis Council. Dana?
Thank you so much, Representative Crist. It is a great honor to speak with you today.
You as well.
As I'm sure you're aware, Governor DeSantis' approach to climate change is with adaptation. He wants to devote quite a bit of money to a climate resilience fund. However, this strategy seems to be no match at all for these hurricanes on steroids. We know that Florida is ground zero for climate change. The destruction has been massive. The tragedy that has struck Florida this last month, the damage is many times more than that. What do you think could be a more effective approach in protecting communities and businesses? And how do we communicate this approach to not just young people, but people of every age across Florida to help bring in the Democratic vote, to help really stem the tide of climate change in your state?
Well, sadly, that message could not have been communicated more effectively than Hurricane Ian itself. This is one of the most powerful storms. It's the most deadly storm we've had in the state of Florida in our modern history. Over 100 people lost their lives. You mentioned about the fund that's established in the Florida budget to harden our homes, to raise our seawalls, and that's a good thing that we have it, but not a dime had been spent by the DeSantis administration. Not a dime. And then we get Hurricane Ian. Leadership is about being ready and being prepared before the storm hits, not just reacting to it after it has already come. He wasn't prepared.
But hope for who? The relatively few of us who might initially be able to adapt to rapidly.
Whoever that is, could you please mute?
MPD officers.
Sorry,
Hello?
sorry about that. Go right ahead.
I was about done. I mean, I just think, listen, I'm the only governor in the history of the state that's had a climate change summit. I did it in Miami, Florida with Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger of California at the time. I know what a real and present danger this is. I mean, when I drive around St. Petersburg and I'm right on Tampa Bay and go over to visit my parents, I can see that the sea level has risen, literally. It's here. We need to reduce emissions. We all know that. But we need to get about the business of doing it more aggressively. We need to increase the usage of solar energy in the Sunshine State and wind and other forms of renewables that reduce our emissions into our air and give us the opportunity to cool down the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean and reduce the kind of intensified storms that we're suffering from right now. These are part of the vision that I have that I want to implement, and I look forward to being able to do it with your help.
All right, our next question is from a member of the audience, Rick Wicks. Could you please?
Yeah, hi, Governor Crist. I'm going to call you Governor. I wonder if you could tell us what is our best response to, we get attacked by Republicans on inflation and also on the border and immigration. I wonder what's our best response on those issues?
Well, inflation here in Florida, the greatest contributor to it is Ron DeSantis himself. You look at property insurance, hasn't done anything to fix it. We pay the highest rates for property insurance in the country right now under his lack of leadership. In addition, our utility bills, they're going through the roof in the Sunshine State. And it's his Public Service Commission, personally appointed by him, who continues to approve rate increase after rate increase and never checks it. They've become lapdogs of the utility industry, not watchdogs, which they were designed to do in our Constitution. So when it comes to inflation in Florida, it's a Ron DeSantis inflation that we're suffering from right now. And it's inexcusable. And he does it because he's really focused on 2024 and trying to get the Republican nomination for president instead of doing what's right for Florida and our gas prices, our grocery prices, our utility costs, our insurance costs. and just doesn't pay any attention to them. And in the meantime, the property insurance industry has contributed $3 million to his war chest. So is it any wonder that we're having these problems? It's because of DeSantis. And that's how you combat inflation. And the second part was about again?
About immigration and the border.
Sure. Well, I'm the grandson of immigrants. My father's father immigrated from the island of Cyprus. My grandmother immigrated from Lebanon. I think we need to have comprehensive immigration policy in our state and in our country. And we just don't have it now. Why is that? Because lack of leaders like Ron DeSantis, when he was in Congress, like to talk about immigration as an issue, but one didn't want to do anything about having comprehensive immigration reform as a member of Congress. I, on the other hand, voted for it. Unfortunately, the Senate didn't take it up. But I think what we need to do is exactly what Ron DeSantis does, is exactly what not to do. In his failed stunt, to charter 2 jets, take him to San Antonio, Texas, lied to almost 50 Hispanics, Venezuelans in this case, to get them on those 2 planes and fly them to Martha's Vineyard, use them as political pawns in his scheme to try to get the Republican nomination in 2024 was appalling. For another human being to use other human beings, we're all children of God, for that kind of purpose and cruelty, when one of those people was a 1-year-old child, another was a pregnant woman, it is appalling and embarrassing, frankly, to have a governor like DeSantis of our beautiful Florida. And so on immigration, on inflation, he's dead wrong. We'll do the right thing. And as I said, 21 days to go.
Thank you.
Right, our next question is from Carol Moore in the UK.
Well,
So
thank
I have
you.
to do my last one. I apologize.
Okay.
I have a 2 o'clock hard stop here.
Okay, thank you so much. And I too am going to call you Governor Crist. Okay, question, affordable housing. My understanding is that we got lots of money from the federal government. Some of it went in reserves, and yet the crisis in affordable housing exacerbated, of course, what we saw in Ian, is tragic for so many Floridians. And I was wondering if you had some thoughts on how this could be addressed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for the question. So in the Florida budget, we had a trust fund specifically set up for housing, for affordable housing. The trust fund's called the Sadowski Trust Fund. Hundreds of millions of dollars set aside for the purpose of what you just asked your question about. So the problem is that the DeSantis administration swept it. And then to add insult to injury, they passed a law to cut it in half permanently going forward. So that's one part of the problem that we can easily fix just by restoring it and honoring it. Now, I also believe that we need to work with our federal friends. I served in Congress, as you know, with a lady named Marcia Fudge. She happens to be the new secretary at Housing and Urban Development. So I would invite the secretary after the election to come down to Florida, show her what's happening. She was just here a couple of months ago, so she's up to speed on it pretty much, and solicit directly her help on this issue for Florida, which I'm sure she will grant, because unlike the current governor, I don't beat up on the Biden administration every day. I think we need to work with the Biden administration to the benefit of our people. And then third, I think it's important to work with our local governments. And I'll give you a great example. My hometown of St. Petersburg, we have a new mayor. His name is Ken Welch. He's a wonderful man. First Black mayor in the history of St. Petersburg, and I'm very proud of that. He's already set aside $70 million for affordable housing just in St. Petersburg, Florida. So it's all hands on deck. We have the local level, the state level with the new governor, the federal level with this great president and secretary of HUD. We put all that together. We have a great opportunity to make a major difference in this all important issue of affordable housing for our fellow Floridians. Let me thank you all again for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you. We've got a great chance to win these 2 elections for Senate and governor this year. I think that both of us are going to help draw out more voters for each other. And I think it's very exciting, and can't thank you enough for you doing your part. God bless you all.
Thank you so much for coming today, Representative Crist. And we're going to do more than wish you luck. We're going to vote, tell all our friends to vote, phone bank, and donate. So thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck with that
Thank you,
debate.
Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you. You all have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Uh-huh.
All right. Wow. I am super psyched. I hope everybody else is too about voting. I just want to say one more time, I said it at the top, but she wasn't here. I just really want to thank Carol Moore for all her help, all her work as the candidate event coordinator. You've done an awesome job. We're coming to the home stretch. So thank you so much, Carol.
Well, Angela, all I will say is thanks everyone here today, because the chance to both hear these wonderful candidates and for them to learn about DA and to know we can deliver votes. It has been exciting and the team has been great. And thank you for the thought.
All right. All right, everybody.
Thank you. Can I just say something, Angela?
Okay.
Mostly
right.
so I can get on screen again. How come I'm not? And I can take a screenshot so you can plug it in. No, I just want to say, I second that. Shout out to Carol, as well as the rest of the teams who put these together. And just emphasize the point that I believe we are sending these to all of our constituents. We have over 10,000 members from Florida, plus reaching out to all the people who voted in 2020. And again, everybody can help. democratsabroad.org/phone banking and democratsabroad.org/donate.
Oh
So
gosh,
please.
do we have some?
Okay,
Goodness.
I have to say, I'll say it later. Keep going.
Okay, no, that's it for me. Thank you all for working hard on this.
All right.
Good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording and